a young man travels to the cultivation world and discovers his sect is giving away free wives. The catch? They're all female demonic cultivators. This causes the sect disciples to be too afraid to claim any of them. But our protagonist isn't one to back down. He directly chooses the most beautiful one as his wife. However, just when he thinks he's won a beauty, little does he know she's actually the reincarnated empress of the heavenly demon sect. Had she not failed her ascension tribulation years ago, she would never have been reduced to becoming this young man's wife.
多谢公子救命之恩。好，你以后就是我老婆了。
But just as he's feeling smug about his choice, the senior disciple suddenly steps forward to steal his bride, saying he's taken a fancy to this woman and telling the young man to get lost. But he's not about to give in. He finally managed to choose a wife. Even if it costs him his life, he won't hand her over. So he immediately takes his wife back to their room. His wife notices him drooling, thinking he wants to take advantage of her, but he only wants to unlock the chains on her feet. These chains are forged from mystic iron. Only a divine sword could possibly break them. Hearing this, he remembers from his travels through the immortal realm. He actually does have a small broken sword. He immediately casts a spell calling sword. Come! And just like that, with a whoosh, the divine sword flies into his hand.
你干什么？一把破剑，给人不该玄铁。看来无情中的小可也只是徒有虚名，非真正的玄铁大造。
This inadvertent action by the young man triggers a resonance with the sect's divine sword. At the same time, the sect elders sense this power, thinking their sect's treasure is about to awaken. The founding ancestor who established the sect was fortunate enough to inherit the divine sword, but after the ancestor ascended, the divine sword had no successor. Now sensing the sword's awakening, they immediately order the first disciple to seize this opportunity, to draw the divine sword and win first place at the centennial competition. The senior disciple makes a bold declaration: as long as I successfully form my golden core, then I can definitely inherit the divine sword. And to form the core, the senior disciple is ruthless. He captures his own wife intending to kill her to prove his Tao. Because the Heartless sect has always cultivated the path of heartlessness. Years ago, he planted seeds of affection in his wife, all for this day when killing her would achieve golden core. But just as the senior disciple is about to strike, the young man suddenly steps forward to stop him.
你老婆这么漂亮，你不要给我呀！
At this, the senior disciple instantly loses it. How dare Amirant try to steal my wife? But the young man says, to form a golden core on the path of heartlessness, it's not simply a matter of killing your loved ones. However, as soon as he speaks, the sect master becomes displeased, because the Heartless sect's philosophy is to sever mortal emotions and desires, first having feelings, then becoming heartless. And the most heartless act is killing one's wife. But the young man says, this approach is completely wrong. The Grand Elder is the first to object.
若杀气不能正道，又如何求得无情大道？
这无情之举，应该是这样的。
Seeing this, the senior disciple flies into a rage, but the young man tells him not to be angry. I'm helping you prove the Heartless Tao and form your core successfully, no matter what I do to your wife, as long as you remain completely unmoved. Only then will you truly comprehend the essence of the path of heartlessness. Sure enough, as expected, after his smooth talk, the senior disciple actually has an epiphany. In an instant, the senior disciple successfully forms his golden core before everyone's eyes. The sect master is pleased to see this, and prepares to let the senior disciple inherit the divine sword today. He casts a spell connecting heaven and earth, summoning the ancestor. The young man takes a closer look, never expecting that the founding ancestor of the Heartless sect is actually just an old servant doing odd jobs in the immortal realm. After these words, the senior disciple is first to respond, saying he's the most talented of the young generation in the Heartless sect, hoping the ancestor will help him obtain the divine sword inheritance. But when the young man hears this, he says it's just a small broken sword. He can summon it at will whenever he wants. The senior disciple refuses to accept this and challenges him to see who can summon the divine sword. He casts his spell. I have a sword. I have a sword that can overturn mountains and sever sea sword. Come. But surprisingly, the young man knows this technique too, just one level higher. When uncertain, ask the spring wind sword. Come.
一个低级弟子也配剑来二字？
But the next second, he's proven wrong. As soon as the young man finishes speaking, the swords in all the disciples' hands suddenly tremble violently, as if welcoming the sword's true master. Sure enough, as expected, the next second, the authentic divine sword flies precisely into the young man's hand. Seeing this, the disciples are shocked, and the senior disciple is the first to protest. Why should a mere low-level disciple be able to obtain the divine sword's inheritance? He immediately demands justice from the ancestor.
只有强者才能得到神剑的认可。
我才是无形中最杰出的那个人。
Seeing the ancestor is displeased, the Grand Elder immediately rebukes the senior disciple. Show some respect. He then tells the young man to go to the Pure Residence Pavilion to find Fairy by Rua for guidance on cultivating with the Divine Sword. But the young man's mind isn't on cultivation. Rather, he's heard that Fairy by Rua is a great beauty, so he definitely has to go see for himself. But just as he's about to enter, he's blocked by a formation. The Saintess takes a look. This is actually the legendary Heaven's Net formation. In the current world, few people can break it. Better wait a bit longer.
我现在已经等不及了，我给它破开不就行了吗？
公子，白若仙子是元婴境的大修士，不是我们这种练气士想破就能破的。
But the young man is completely dismissive. He simply uses his pinky finger and instantly breaks through the Heaven's Net formation set up by Fairy by Rua. Seeing this, the Saintess is amazed, but she still thinks it was the Divine Sword on him that broke through, so she asks to play with the sword. But the young man's mind is only on Fairy by Rua. Divine Sword or not, it doesn't matter at all. He casually tosses it to the Saintess, letting her play with it herself. He's off to find his Fairy by Rua, but as soon as he enters, the fairy senses someone behind her, but doesn't know who it is. Moreover, she's at a critical stage of cultivation. Stopping now would surely damage her Dao heart, and judging by the person's aura, it's clearly just an ordinary disciple. Even with 800 times the courage, he wouldn't dare take a step forward.
没有你一个低阶弟子不肯惊人。
仙子，你好骚啊！